Did you ever see a man in a gorilla suit selling mattresses on late-night TV? Or maybe a cowboy yodeling about used cars? Well, get ready, because today we're plunging into the wild, weird, and downright legendary world of Texas' most outrageous local commercials. And trust me, they're even wilder than a West Texas dust storm. Howdy, y'all. Welcome to the Lone Star Plate, where everything's bigger, bolder, and definitely a whole lot more interesting. If you love Texas, you're in the right place. Today, I'm fixing to shine a spotlight on the classic, the bizarre, and the unforgettable commercials that made local Texas TV must-see back in the day. And hey, some of them are still going strong. Stick around, because there ain't nowhere else you'll see a lawyer riding a horse just to sell you a power washer, or a singing furniture salesman who makes you wonder if you accidentally tuned into a variety show. But before we get rolling down this nostalgia highway, let me ask, what's the wildest local commercial you remember growing up in Texas, or from wherever you call home? Drop it in the comments. Let's see who can outdo who. Now, y'all ready? Buckle up. Here we go. First stop, the iconic gallery furniture commercials out of Houston. If you haven't heard a man scream, "Gallery furniture will save you money," at full lungs, have you ever truly watched Texas TV? That's Mattress Mack, Jim Mackingvale. He's been running these zany, high-energy ads since the early 80s. Decked out in a bright red or blue polo, usually in front of a mountain of sofas, Mack would jump out, flip over sofas, and practically beg Houstonians to come in for a deal. Each ad seemed more frantic than the last. Mattress Mack didn't just sell you a couch. He sold you the idea that he'd haul it over to your house that day, by hand, if he had to. These commercials burned into our brains, and when folks fled Hurricane Harvey, who let them take shelter in his store? You guessed it, Mattress Mack. Sometimes Texas commercials don't just sell, they build legends. Now, zoom over to Dallas and you'll find DFW Car Mart. Picture this, a fella dressed as Uncle Sam, standing on top of a Cadillac while fireworks go off in the background, hollering about 0% down on pickup trucks. There was absolutely no subtlety, and that's what made people remember. You'd see these ads during football games late at night, or smack in the middle of Saturday cartoons. The wilder, the better. The more you shouted and waved a flag around, the more people seemed to trust you with their next dodge. Who could forget the Texas Hammer? No, I'm not talking about a wrestler. I mean Jim Adler, the attorney with a silver hard hat and a voice that sounds like gravel under cowboy boots. His legendary catchphrase, "I'm Jim Adler, the Texas Hammer," was usually followed by him slamming a giant prop hammer on a table or blowing up a Model 18-wheeler. The graphics were always straight out of Saturday morning cartoons. Adler's ads are so notorious, folks have turned them into memes. Love him or hate him, you can't say he didn't break through the noise. In Texas, if you want a lawyer who'll fight for you, apparently you need a fella who can shatter a pickup with a rubber mallet. Let's mosey to San Antonio, home of the Lone Star Radiator Man. This fella would pop up in all sorts of get-ups. Cowboy, superhero, spaceman, sometimes in the same 30-second spot. He'd talk directly to the camera, sometimes from under the hood of a car, other times while floating through space courtesy of some cheap green screen magic. None of it made any sense, but the jingle sure got stuck in your head. If your car ran hot in Bezar County, you thought of Lone Star Radiators first. Now, for my personal favorite, Stanley's famous pit barbecue in Tyler. Lord, those ribs look good, but the 1980s commercials were as smoky as the brisket. Picture Stanley himself, a lovable fellow in suspenders, telling a complicated story about cows who begged him to make brisket instead of steak, then launching into a bluesy tune about smoked sausage. Every shot was lo-fi and a little fuzzy, but you could practically smell the mesquite. You didn't just want BBQ, you wanted Stanley's BBQ, even if you lived 5 hours away. Rounding out our tour, let's swing by Amarillo. You might recall Big Tex Trailers, where the owner, a lady in full cowgirl regalia, would stand next to a horse, holler, and then lasso a price tag right out of thin air. If you weren't buying a trailer, you wanted to by the time she finished. And let's not forget those El Paso car dealers who had full-on mariachi bands in their commercials, blurring the line between advertisement and weekend fiesta. You see, there's a reason Texas commercials go viral, even decades later. They're uniquely tied to the people. Bold characters, homemade graphics, absurd catchphrases, and charisma so thick you could mop it up with a biscuit. These commercials weren't trying to out-slick Madison Avenue. They were all about out-hearting the next guy, and sometimes they even made history. Like when Mattress Mack turned his business into a storm shelter, or Jim Adler used his persona to donate to highway safety campaigns. These folks aren't just local celebrities, they're fixtures of the Texas story. Their commercials may look silly, but they built real trust the homegrown way. So why do these outrageous commercials work? Simple. In Texas, we like things big. Big steaks, big trucks, big personalities. We don't want some bland voiceover from New York telling us where to buy tires. We want the tire guy himself, shouting over a bonfire or maybe dressed like a rodeo clown. It feels local, authentic, and just a little bit wild, just like the Lone Star State itself. But now it's your turn, partners. What's the craziest Texas commercial you ever saw? Was there a mascot that haunted your dreams? A jingle you still can't shake? Or maybe you just remember a fella in a foam hat that made you laugh till your sweet tea spilled. Give me your best stories in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to The Lone Star Plate, where every episode is a true taste of Texas. Before I let you go, here's a final thought. In a world where everything's going digital and polished, I say we tip our hats to the folks who kept it homemade and Texas-sized. Those outrageous commercials, they didn't just sell, they made memories. Until next time, may your deals be big, your BBQ tender, and your TV jingles unforgettable. Y'all take care now.